And this episode is brought to you by Lynda.com. Hey, you're watching Swerve on YouTube. This is episode 10 of Slow-Mo Mondays, and today I'm going to be showing you how to create this Black Ops 3 effect using so many different techniques. So, you know what? It's pretty awesome. So stay tuned. So before the flames, the glitz and the glamour, there was always a base shape. And I know a lot of you already know how to create the Black Ops 3 symbol, but the reason why I'm here is to show you a quick technique on how to make even gaps. So right now I've got 3 bars and there's a gap in between each one. But what you didn't notice is that the gaps are not equal. So to make them equal, all you need to do is highlight everything. Make sure that you go to this area here and click align to selection, and you go to the second to last option, and once you click that, it should even out your gaps. So this is a really good technique if you're working with typography or anything that involves equal gaps. So that's just a little quick tip. So how about we finish the rest of this logo and head into Photoshop. Alright, so I'm going to get a rectangle. I'm just going to create little ridges. And I'm going to get the direct selection tool. Alright, that's perfect. And I'm just going to move it in a bit. Alright, so transform, reflect. Click OK. Alright, that's perfect. A bit in, a little bit out. And what we're going to do is move it to the other side. Transform, reflect, horizontal, and just move it out a bit. Actually, you know what? Let's get rid of the last one and let's just copy this one. So what we're going to do is go to highlight the rest, make sure we merge it using the Pathfinder, move it over, reflect. Should have done this way before, but now we can just do that technique that I showed you. So highlight everything, go to align to selection and do the same thing. Okay, so now that we've got our logo or emblem, all we need to do is highlight everything. We're going to group it, and what we're going to do is change it to a stroke. And now that we've done this, we can now focus on making it look rustic or flame like. So what I'm going to do is use a texture that I like to use. So I'm going to highlight everything and go to the stroke texture area, and what I need to do is go to the brush libraries menu, go to artistic and charcoal pencil. Okay, so in this section I have a favorite. You can play around with which one you want to use and stuff like that, but I like using charcoal, so the original charcoal. And the reason I like this one is because it has so many, loose bits to it that represent flames and, charcoal. And what I can do is, it's a bit thick, so I'm going to change it to 0.7 or maybe 0.6. Alright, that's perfect. And you can probably see that there are some gaps, and we don't really want those. If you want it, you can keep it, but I really want everything to be, clean and equal. So what I'm going to do is get my pen tool, and what I'm going to do is outline the bits that are lacking. So that's that area, and I'm going to choose charcoal and make it 0.6. Perfect. And I'm just going to go around just like that and do the same thing. 0.6. And we're almost done. Whoops. And 0.6. And it seems like this one's poking out a bit, so what I'm going to do is taper it just so it matches. Alright, that's perfect. So as you can see, there's unequal bits, there's equal bits, there's thick, bold, you know, a big mixture of textures, and that's what I like about this kind of brush. Alright, so in the next bit we're going to focus on taking this bad boy into Photoshop, so stay tuned. Alright, so here we are in Photoshop, and I think it's just about time to add our emblem. So what I'm going to do is press Ctrl V, make sure it's a smart object, and click OK. So from this point we can now add some textures, and if you check in the link in the description below, you should see that I've left you all of the textures that I'm going to use in this tutorial, so check it out, feel free to download it. So the first texture we're going to use is our concrete texture. So I'm going to open the Finder quickly, and I'm going to drag in our concrete texture and click OK. So make sure that every texture you add is a smart object. So if you look at the corner of your thumbnail, you should see that there is a smart object symbol. That is the symbol to show that it is a smart object. So from this point, all we need to do is move our concrete layer below our vector layer, and I'm going to name our vector layer emblem. Alright, so from this point we can add our next texture, which is going to be the flames, and this is going to be the difference between the original design and epic. So I'm going to drag it in, and it should be a smart object straight away because I've dragged it in. And if yours isn't a smart object, all you need to do is right click and convert to smart object. Okay, so now that we've got that out of the way, all we need to do is set it to screen, and what we're going to do is resize it so it's the size of our element. And we're going to go in between the layers and hold Alt and click, and as you can see, we've actually added some life to this emblem, and it's starting to catch shape or catch fire. So we're going to make a duplicate and press Ctrl J, and we're going to create another clipping mask just on top, and we're going to rotate it so it's the opposite way round. Alright, so that's looking really nice, really nice. So from this point we can either make a new one or we can add some extra elements. So I'm going to make a new one again, so Ctrl J, and I want this to flow with the design. So what I'm going to do is rotate it, holding Shift, and I'm going to move it down to the best bits of the fire, and I'm going to click enter and go in between and create a clipping mask. So this is a bit too bright for my liking, but we can make some adjustments. So if you look at what we have here, you'll probably see that we need some flow, and if I zoom in, you'll see how the textures in the vector add structure and flames. But enough of that. What I'm going to do is set these all back to normal, and actually we're going to set this back to normal, to screen. I'm going to set this to screen, and we're going to set this to normal. And what we need to do is get our marquee tool And what we're going to do is hold Alt, make sure that the top layer is selected, and we're going to hold Alt and click the mask option. So what we've basically done is made a selection which makes this flow with the design basically. So before, all the flames were going up. Now at the top the flames are going this way. Alright, so now that we finished with this part of the design, what we need to do is make some new layers. So we're going to add some flames and embers to it. So from this point we can choose the best bits of the flame and start creating some essential details. So what we're going to do is get our brush tool, make sure the background is set to, or the brush is set to black, and we're going to make a mask. Just going to increase the brush using the square bracket key going up and change the flow to 100. Okay, perfect. Okay, so now we can pick the best bits of the fire to make our elements look really nice. So as you can see, I'm just rubbing out the areas that I don't want and keeping in the areas that I do want. Alright, so I like that bit a lot. I want to keep some flames and some sparks. Definitely. Okay, so that's looking a bit better. So it looks like it's flaming on this side. So we're going to move on to this side and see what we can add to make it pop a bit more. Alright, so on this side, I was thinking of adding some flames or some sparks. Alright, so how about add some sparks around here? Perfect. Alright, that's perfect. So somewhere around there. And we're just going to choose, like last time, what we want and what we don't want. So I want some sparks over there. And it doesn't have to be perfect, just select the areas that you want. Alright, so I'm just going to go over these bits. Change the brush size. And I like how the flames are just coming off and flying in a different direction. Definitely. Right, so I'm just going to change a few more bits. I really like that. So this is like our own rendition of the Black Ops 3 emblem, and I really like how it's looking. We're going to add some direction a bit more in some areas, so I'm going to make a new layer and rotate it, and I feel like if I add some sparks going this way, it would look really nice. Alright, so I'm going to choose this one, this flame right here. Perfect. So it's basically all up to interpretation. So, you know, what you feel looks good is definitely good. Alright, so here we go. Alright, that's looking excellent. I'm really proud of this. Okay, I might add a few more sparks in that area. So this is the last element down here. I'm just going to go over like that. And it's looking perfect. So we could have actually left it like this, but there's a few things that we need to add, take out, you know, stuff like that. So last thing I need to do in this section is add some glow, and we're going to be pretty much set. So I'm going to see which areas need to be taken away. So there's some sparks. Yep, I think it's that bit. Okay, so I'm going to take away some sparks there. Alright, some sparks over here. And that's looking perfect. That's looking really nice. I'm really proud of that. Yeah, I think it's ready to add some glow, and then we're going to move on to the next bit. So we're going to make a new layer, and all you need to do is select I for your color picker tool, and I'm going to choose the second most brightest orange or yellow. So I'm going to use somewhere around here. Yeah, that's perfect. So what I'm going to do is change the flow to around 7 or 6, and I'm just going to dab on the areas that are the brightest, just to add some, you know, emphasis. So you can dab twice if it's really bright, and once if it's not that bright. So that really adds some detail. And yeah, we're basically finished with this section. Stay tuned for the next section, where we're going to add some extra elements to make it pop that bit more. So I'll see you in the next part. Alright, so it's time for a quick break. Today's sponsor is lynda.com, and if you don't know about lynda.com, let me first start by saying they're pretty much the best when it comes to learning. Lynda.com are the #1 leading platform for easy and intensive courses. Basically, this means you're getting a ton of tutorials at your fingertips whenever you want, wherever you want. Courses range all the way from animations, photography, video editing, modeling, Photoshop, illustration, typography, and so much more. So why am I telling you all of this? Well, if you check out lynda.com/swerve, you get a 10-day free trial. That's right, unlimited access to all of your favorite courses. So enjoy. And don't forget, that's lynda.com/swerve. So this bit's going to be really short, but really effective. So right now we're going to be making a vector highlight. You haven't heard of it because it doesn't exist yet, but now it does. So I'm going to select this object here, and I just made a simple stroke, made it yellow, and what I'm going to do is change it to charcoal, the texture that we used before, and I'm going to taper the edges, and this is our vector highlight. So what we're going to do with this is copy it, take it into Photoshop, and press Ctrl V. Okay, so enter. This is our vector highlight, and I'm going to show you what it does later on, but first off, what we need to do is select our glow layer and our emblem, holding shift, and highlight all in between. And what we're going to do is hold shift, click the folder, and we're going to name this base. And we're going to change the name of our vector object to vector highlight. Alright, so now we're going to focus on creating artificial highlights just to make the design pop a bit more. So what we're going to do is go to different sections of this design, and we're going to choose bits that we want to have a really good highlight. Alright, so I'm going to zoom out a bit, see how that turned out. So as you can see, it adds like a really bright color to it and a really nice texture. So before I even move on to adding another one, what we need to do is add an outer glow. So once I add that, what I'm going to do is choose a color. I think an amber yellow would do. Not too bright, not too dark. So somewhere around here. And I'm going to change the size just a bit. Perfect. Alright, so now that I've done that, what I can do is now make another one. I might need to make it a bit thinner. Okay, so I'm going to zoom in a lot more. Make it thin. Just so it matches the design. And in every section I put it, I can either stretch it, make it look really long, make a smaller version, really short. Like, you get the gist. It looks really nice and it's really effective. So just in the areas where we think we need it, we may need it down here. Might bring it up a bit and put one over here and just resize it. May add one over here as well and we'll be done. Okay, so if you look at it now, actually drag one over here as well. Like, whatever you feel that it needs to be, just add it. And I feel that it adds a lot of dimension to the design and it makes it look really nice. So that's the end of this part. I told you it would be short and sweet, and I'll see you in the next bit. So you're probably thinking that we're just about done, but we're far from done. We still got a lot to do. Like, it looks pretty good, but we can take it that step further, trust me. So what we're going to do is select all the highlights that we made before, holding shift, and what we're going to do is make a new folder and name that vector highlights. And what we're going to do is make a strong glow this time. So I'm going to make a new layer and I'm going to choose a orange kind of feel. Yeah, I think a bright orange would do. And I'm going to change the flow to, let's say, 42. I'm going to make it really small. It's going to go over the sections. Whoops. Over the sections that I want to be really bright, which is basically everything. I'm just going to go over. Whoops. This takes little to no precision, so try not to be too perfect. Alright, so I'm going to go and click overlay, and as you can see, that adds so much dimension. So we went from this to this. As you can see, there's a lot more that needs to be done. So we can change the opacity down a bit more. And the next bit we need to do is the flares. And this is another section of our textures. And this is the flare that I like to use. So it doesn't have to be too high res. It just has to be effective. So we're going to add this to all the areas that we feel need an extra boost, like all of these areas. And what we're going to do is change this to screen, and we're going to resize it and make it thinner. And we can add it to areas such as this. Resize it, and it just has an extra texture to it that makes it look really nice. So I'm going to resize it a bit more, like so. I really like that, and I'm going to move it over here, resize it again, I'm going to make it a bit thinner. So I'm going to try and make sure that it's not too uniform and it's more random than me selecting what size it is. Alright, so I'm going to move that down here. May move that down a bit more. And I like the extra specular highlight that adds to the design in different areas. I'm going to make this one really small, like so, and put another one over here. Perfect. Okay, so now that we've added the flares, what we can do now is highlight those flares and make a new folder, name it flares, and we're going to add some hue and saturation to this. So I'm going to hold Alt in between the layers and I'm going to move this towards the blue side. So I'm going to name it, I'm going to make it +6, just to make it a bit orange but not too orange like yellow. And I'm going to add a curve. Alright, so curves. I'm just going to boost it up a bit. So I'm going to bring in the highlights just by moving it up. And we're just about done for this bit. Definitely. So we're so close to finishing. So in the next part we're going to focus on adding smoke, some extra curves and some destruction. So I'll see you in the next part. Alright, so it's time to make some clouds, and to do this all we need to do is make a new layer and make sure that your foreground is set to white and your background is set to black. We're going to go to filter, render and clouds. So we've now generated some clouds, but we don't want to use the entire piece. We want to take a small section. So look at the nicest bit of this cloud area. I really like this section over here. So I'm just going to select it, and what I'm going to do is right click inside and make a layer copy and delete the original one. And what I can do now is, what I can do now is select the cloud layer and resize it. So I'm just going to resize it, and I'm going to select screen. So now that I've done screen, it looks really epic, but we need to get rid of a few things. So I'm going to change the opacity down a bit, and I'm going to use my brush, make a mask, make sure the brush is black, and I'm going to get rid of some bits. I want the clouds to be on this side, like they're blowing away from the design and stuff like that. So I'm just going to get rid of the smoke in that section, resize a bit more. I really like it. So it's adding some textures that I really like. Definitely. Okay, so that's looking perfect. So now that we've added the clouds, we've pretty much done with the design. It's time to just add some hue, saturation and some curves and some destruction. So first off, let's start with the destruction. My bad. And we're going to choose the base layer, which was the emblem, the vector element that we put inside, and we're going to select the mask option. And what we're going to do is get our brush, we're going to zoom in, and we're going to get rid of the areas that we don't want. So that area over there, all the places where the fire is about to dissipate or, you know, cool down, just to make it look a bit more realistic. Alright, so we're going to make that area fizzle out. Yeah, I like that. So we've added some destruction. It's subtle, but it really works at helping the audience to portray what's actually going on. Okay, so it looks a lot more realistic, and we went from average to more than epic. So what I'm going to do now is make a new layer, or a new hue and saturation, and what I'm going to do is change the saturation down a bit and change the color to more red. So I'm going to make it -9. Perfect. And what I can do is make a curves adjustment. I'm going to make it deep at first. Gonna go to the red, make it low, green, low, and I'm gonna make the blue low, then high, or high then low. Yep, high then low. Okay, so that's looking really nice, really nice. And I'm just going to change the hue and saturation a bit down. So this is just up to experimentation and stuff like that. So I've decreased some of the color just to add more color later on. So what I'm going to do is make a, what do they call it? I'm going to add a photo filter. That's it. And I'm just going to introduce some orange into this design. Like so, and that's looking really nice. And on top of that, I'm going to add some blue. So I'm going to choose some color balance, and I'm going to add some blue, make it +13, and another curve. Whoops, my bad. Okay, and another filter, I mean, so photo filter, and I'm going to make it a blue kind of color, or maybe pink. Yeah, definitely. All right, so more of a red, I should say. Okay, so a red kind of color. So if we were to zoom out a bit more, you can see that we've added a whole lot of texture and grading and color, and we can even decrease or increase the saturation of this grading. I really like it around 77, and it looks really nice. So at this point, all we can do right now is go to our textures folder, and I'm just gonna get the Call of Duty text just to make it official, and click OK, and I'm gonna screen it. Click screen just to make it official. So you gotta admit, this is pretty epic for a tutorial. So we've reached the end of the tutorial. Hope you liked it. Don't forget to leave a like, subscribe and comment, and I'll see you in another video.